and welcome to Wikipedia Weekly Network here, where Albin Larsson and I, Jan Ainali, are editing Wikidata Live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing great. I had a lovely sunny day today, and it's not yet really spring here in Sweden. It's still very gray, but there are starting to be like small pieces of green every now and then in some places. Under a bit of leaves, you can find knolls popping up
Yeah.
with a bit of greenery, and that's a highlight currently when there isn't that much light. And how are you, Jan?
I'm great as well. It's not really spring here either, even if you have it a little bit warmer here. Although I don't really have any nature around me, but there's some flowers like these early ones coming up on the sides of the street. Well, today it is Open Data Day. And just like last year, we also had a session like this. We will try to look at Wikidata from some sort of open data perspective. It might become a little bit meta. So
Indeed.
What are you planning to look at?
I'm trying, or my intention is to look at a specific property, which is like number of records, which we sometimes use on things like databases and maybe open databases, and then try to visualize those datasets in Wikidata using the query service to see how big they are, how many records they have, and then maybe do some basic editing in case we get new people here coming in from just the Open Data Day and want to see how Wikidata works. So maybe a bit of editing, adding such statements to Wikidata itself.
Very
and
nice.
you, Jan?
I'm going to focus a little bit of the open part of the Open Data Day. I'm going to start to take a look at the licenses and then see what kind of things in Wikidata do we have with licenses. And then we'll see how far we get because there's like so much you could do and start editing as well, perhaps even. And hello, Nicholas. Oh, and you're still having winter. All right. Yeah. So we have a chat here as well. So if you're watching, you can always ask us questions, what we're doing, and stop us if we're going too quick.
Indeed. And you can write those questions in like the Facebook comments, in the YouTube comments, on Twitch, and so on.
Yeah. And so let's see. Let's start here at the main page of Wikidata today. And if you haven't been there before, this is the URL wikidata.org. So Wikidata, it's a free knowledge base, and we're coming close to 100 million items in here. And items can be about very large concepts like the universe or the earth or a country, and also very tiny and abstract and fictional things. So we have everything in here, and that's sort of what makes Wikidata so fantastic and unique and usable, but also sometimes very hard. So I was thinking I'm going to start here since it's Open Data Day. I want to take a look at open licenses. So let's see in that.
Could you zoom in a little, Jan?
Yes, I could zoom in a little bit. So that's perhaps awesome. A little bit better. So we have the search in the top, right, as usual, and it has some sort of autocomplete. So I'll write open license and see what we get. I see free license, open license. I'm going to start looking at the open license. Oh, now I clicked the wrong thing. Pop-ups. Open license. There we go. And we'll see. Oh, so this is not about the concept. This is about a specific license from the French government, the CC BY license. But let's take a look at what we see here first. So we see some sort of label in the top. Here is the ID of it. And then we have some descriptions here. And we actually have it in several languages. We can have quite a lot of different languages in Wikidata. I think we're up to over 400 something. And then we have information statements about this thing. And the common one is an instance of something. And here we can see this is an instance of a free license, which sort of makes sense since this is a specific license. So let's just click up there and see what we get to. Type of license used for free content or free software. And we also have some alias here, also known as open license. So that was actually why I saw it before. Opposite of proprietary. Partially coincident with copyleft, yes. All right, not a lot of information here, but I think this is sort of where I want to start making a query from. So now I would like to find things that are free, marked with free licenses. And in MediaWiki, we always have this thing, what links here. So you can see sort of like these will probably a few of those that will show up in our query, but this is not a very handy way to do it. So we're going to head over to, first going to head back there to our query service, which is conveniently at query.wikidata.org. And I will have to zoom in a little bit here as well. So you see, I will be typing. This might be enough. And we query in the Sparkle language. So you write Sparkle queries here. And it's one of the neat features is that we have collected a lot of examples. And today I'm going to start with an example here just to show you a little bit. So here's a basic query about cats. And I'm going to try to explain this first before I go further. So we select something, an item, any item, and then we call something item label. This is actually some sort of magic happening here connected to this service. So it will sort of get the label in these languages. It's going to look for my browser while I have a language, and if it cannot find anything there, it's going to go for English. So that's what I'm trying to select here. And what am I actually selecting? Well, the item here, and then we come to the tricky parts if you're new to Wikidata. And that is, this is the properties I'm querying for. And they have to, not have to, but the usual thing is to prefix them with WDT, which will give you the best answer, sort of. It's I think the T stands for truthy. So whatever the query engine will think is the best value, it will try to serve you that. And if you want to get all values or specific values, you can do other stuff to get around that. But that's the prefix for the property there. And then the WD is for the Wikidata items. So if I hover over them, I can see what they stand for, because you don't want to learn all of these by heart. Not the first day anyway. After a while, you will know the P31 because that's the common one, the instance of. So I'm actually asking for something that is an instant of, and then the second one is simply housecat. So everything that's instance of housecat, it will try to select that and the label of it. If I click run over here, so let's click the run, and it's fairly quick. Just a few milliseconds, and then get me 156 different cats here. So that's just show you the basic things here. So now, of course, I'm not that interested in cats today. So I'm going to remove the cat part here, and I'm going to go for the free license here. So I start write free, and then I press Control and space for the autocomplete. And now I get a lot of different free there. The license I see down here. I'll click on that. And if I run this now, I will get everything that is a free license. And very quickly as well, I get 160, and I recognize quite a few of these. So this seems like it's rather good. Yeah, that's not bad at all. And from as far as I can see, doesn't seem. So we have one tricky one here. We have one with a Q number, and that's because there's no label in English for it yet. So, and since it's not in English, I can probably not add one either. So I'll leave that for someone else to figure out. Now, there might be, as we saw, if I go back to our open license. How far back was that? There we go. And there was an instance of a free license. Okay. It could be also a subclass of something, like we have layers of specified licenses. So I'll actually do a property path here to get me some more licenses. And I'll just write that with, and then I'll go with subclass of and a star to be able to go as deep as possible. And if I run this now, I will hopefully get a few more than 160. Yes, we almost doubled, and now I got the GNU licenses here as well.
Right.
So
this might be because something is not just a license, but it's tagged as an open license, which
exactly
is then tagged as a subclass of just a regular license, or
yeah,
an open source license.
Yeah, and it could also be like it's a family of, like, you have all the GNU licenses, and then all the other ones are subclasses or instances of that one. So we have various kinds of ways we could get there, but this sort of, there might be even other ways we're missing now, but this is a fairly good catch-all in general for Wikidata. So that's quite good. But now I'm not really interested in licenses per se. That's just the way for me to find the content, the open data, or whatever we have. So, and I don't know what I will find. So I will just call it content, because licenses, you can use it on more than data. You can use it on media, you can use it on software. So I will just call it content for now. And this content, I want it to have some sort of license property. I don't remember exactly what it's named. I think it, oh, and now I'm actually not doing the T here. Copyright license, P275. That's the one I want. And I want this one to be one of these. So if I run this now, and if I add up here, content, and I also run the label, I'll get all things that have the property with any of these 370 licenses. And I've been trying this today, and most of the times it times out. So we'll see if we're lucky now. I think it might time out. And this is a sort of a safety valve in the query service, so that you can't really hog all resources by writing super expensive queries. So after 60 seconds, it will just drop it. So we'll see if we get something on this. And if we don't get anything, my second approach will try to be counting instead and see what we get. Because that might be quicker, it doesn't have to load everything. I'll start a new thing here just to show you a neat thing here with the autocomplete as well. So while that one is running, so I'll start writing select and press Control space, and then we also have a little quick start here for the count. So I'm going to borrow this to my other one. And when we get back here, oh, it's still running. Hasn't it been a minute already? Or is... Has it frozen? Is it loading items? Oh no, pages are not responding. That's not good. Let's press wait and see.
It would mean it succeeded and tries to load all the data?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That it is just a lot of lot of data.
Yeah.
I might have to give this up anyway then, if it's too much data for my browser to handle. But it shouldn't be, because it pages them with like 2,000 things on per page.
No, it pretends to pages it. It just pages when it displays it. It actually fetches all.
Oh, so I potentially have a couple of 100,000 items here now.
Possibly,
Yes.
yes. And then it can actually time out
Yeah,
during
I'm
like
pretty
the
sure.
delivery of because the delivery of the content counts towards the minute, and it can actually time out there as well.
Yeah. Oh, no, cannot open this page. All right. Can I just go back and see my query?
You should be able to, yeah.
No, not. That's my old query. All right.
Or did you? Could you go forward now?
Yes, I could. All right, good.
So if you would put a limit here, you might be able to do it still.
Let's see. Just put a limit of 10. Just see that I get an answer. And yes, then I get 10 things really quick here. A lot of fonts. Right, interesting.
Yeah, it probably picked like the first thing it got from the item type you select.
Yes. So I'm gonna paste in here from the other one count, and I want to count my this case content. And if I run this now, I'll see how many things we have per each license, which is a little bit interesting. I think this will not be too bad. When I do a count like this, I need to group it here in the bottom. Everything that's not in the count. So let's see this, how it works. Might take... I broke everything. I don't know. I don't think I broke everything for anyone else. I mostly broke my browser, I guess. And of course, doing an expensive query hogs a little bit of resources for everyone. But hey, I hopefully show something of value here. So we'll see. Here we got it. 28 seconds. And I didn't order it in any way, so we'll just get it in any order, I guess, here. But it's a little bit hard to see because they're light gray, but there are some sort of ordering things here. So if I click here once, we'll see that CC BY 4.0 is the most common license that Wikidata knows things that are using. And then we have, unfortunately, 25,000 with an unspecified Creative Commons attribution here. That's not optimal. And what else do I? MIT licenses, probably a lot of software. Oh, we got a non-commercial here. That shouldn't be in the free licenses. Because I don't think non-commercial counts as a free license.
No.
Let's check how it is modeled a little bit quickly here. Copyleft. So it's an instance of a copyleft, which is...
Is it because Creative Commons license is a subclass of free license or something like that?
Open source license. Free license. Yeah, no, so it comes from the copyleft, which is sort of technically correct because of the share alike. This is a little bit conflated. We should fix this, but I'm not going to focus on this right now because this was a little bit of a sidetrack getting to see, because I'm still interested in, rather than what licenses are used, what things have these kind of licenses. So I'm going to go up here again, and now I'm going to change my query a little bit, or rather add something. So for this content, I also want to know the instance, like what kind of type is this? I'm going to call it type. And then I'm going to change up here to the type and type label, and group it on the type and type label, and still do a count. And then we'll see how many things of different types do we have. So let's see if we can run it. We had 169. Oh, that's quite interesting. So we had 370 licenses, but actually only 169 of them are being used on items. So we have probably quite a lot that have been sort of imported just because there are free licenses. Well, let's run this one and see what we get. And I'll put the non-commercial one on my to-do lists. It's so easy to get into rabbit holes. I didn't see this when I prepped earlier today, so that's interesting. And running. I don't think this one, the other one took 28 seconds. So let's see if this one can be quicker or slower. Do you have any guess of what will be the most common thing? I can't guess because I've already tried this query before.
Right. Did you guess it right that time?
No, but when I saw it, I immediately understood. No, query timeout. Ah. Oh, let me see if I...
I would imagine it's CC by SA.
No, rather what instance of the things with the licenses, free
Yeah,
licenses.
okay. Wikipedia edition or language edition or something like that, I imagine.
No. You will say aha when you
maybe
see
it's
it
more
here.
generic.
Yes.
Image or artwork or something like that.
No,
Photograph.
but getting closer.
Photograph, artwork, creative work.
Am I doing something differently than I did when I ran this the last time? Let me check. It took me 40 seconds with the same query before, and it actually worked. I have one difference, so maybe if it times out again. So there's a short one. I'm not sure. This shouldn't matter, but this is the query that I ran before, and that ran in. It should be technically the same query. This is just.
Indeed, very much so.
Yeah. And let me check. Did I have the query? I did have the label as well. Let's try it now without the label and see if it makes it any quicker, because I think it has to be right on the edge. Now we won't, if it works, we won't see the label immediately, but we can click them to see. Oh, and now it only took 10 seconds. That's
interesting.
Yeah. And
way too
I'll
interesting.
Sort this, and we get 113,000 of something. You don't recognize this?
No.
So we'll come here, and it's a scholarly article.
Of course.
So we have a lot of open access articles imported into Wikidata.
Indeed.
And it's in the, I think the articles is in the millions, tens of millions even. Just having 100,000 in open access is a little bit depressing, but still. Well, let me see if I add this back now. So this took only 10 seconds. Let's see if we can get it, because it's a hassle clicking back and forth. Yeah, yes. Nicholas, obviously, yes. When you see it as a Wikimedian or Wikidata, you see, yes, of course. We have so many of these that it's sometimes hard to, when you start write something, you get at it as a suggestion, like, oh no, I don't want the article about it, I want the actual thing.
Yeah, and I think we got one episode where we're actually working with like Scholar articles, and just to deal with the amount of data, we do like different
Yeah.
types of queries
Yes.
and try to bypass the limitation of the query service.
Yeah. And yes, almost 30,000. Oh, and now we actually succeeded here. 45 seconds. So Wikipedia language edition, like you was 860.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not so few, but you see here. So scholarly articles and review articles. So like 200,000 things that are open access. And we have quite a lot of free software. And then more things related to articles. Let's see if we have something like more software.
JavaScript library, that's very specific.
Yes. But do we have, here you have photograph that you also guessed.
Yeah.
Dataset. There we go.
Right.
So we have 282 data sets with a free license. And what else do we have? Online database. And database could also be, since they specifically have a free license on them, might be interesting. So I'm actually gonna start collecting these. Let's see if we can write a query for just those. So I'm gonna start here values and collect just these, and I'm gonna do this as the type. And then here I'll paste the interesting things. So let's see if we can find them again. We had 200 something data sets. So we've copied this. And then I'm going to go with the database and online database as well. They were here somewhere as well. We had the database. There we have the online database. Oh, scrolling too fast. These three, I think these are probably the most. There might be more as well, but let's start with those.
Right.
Now I'm assigning these here. So when it comes to type there, it will actually check that it is one of these three. So now we will have a lot fewer, and I don't need the type anymore. So now we can go back to say, yeah, I want the content, which is actually the name of it, and then I'm also interested in the license. So we'll see what it has.
And the values here, you could technically use this subclass trick again, but I imagine this is for the performance and speed of the query.
We can try that and see what we get. Let's just first run this. This should be fairly quick.
Indeed.
Oh, now I have a bad aggregate. I shouldn't have any aggregate. Should be. Not lucky today. Did I do it right? Type, yes. And we had, it should be like sort of like 600 and something in the result. This shouldn't be too bad. Maybe Wikidata is having a bad day today. Yes. Waiting. Well, at least we can see this bar moving. So it's trying to calculate something.
I imagine you could move the query around a little.
Yes.
You could move like the content part above the property path for the license, and just have first select all databases and then select the license and filter on that.
Yeah. So if we first go on these few, Control X, these few 600, and then these.
Maybe
we're more lucky. You never know how the query service will try to optimize this. We can force the optimization here as well to make it to resolve these first, which should be really quick then. But one hope that one shouldn't need to resort to that. I think we will need to resort to that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we got here 607 in 44 seconds. I don't understand why it was so hard. So we do get some sort of, I didn't do distinct here as well. So we get some duplication, but we get ship types.
We get everything duplicated.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Here we even got it 4 times. But this is sort of a query that gives you a lot of CC0. That's very nice when it comes to the open data. This is, so I'll actually share this query. So here's the button for sharing. So I'll make a banner for this, and this will be sort of the something else. This is the one. So if you want to continue from here, you can just start from this. And I think actually Wikidata is having kind of a slow day today, so it should be quicker. This wasn't that hard of a query.
Right. I'm gonna keep it slow, so to say. I'm gonna head straight to the query service because I'm also interested in datasets actually, and I want to select datasets and then try to visualize the size of them, all by just using Wikidata. So sometimes Wikidata contains information about datasets in that way. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do a normal select here. I'm gonna do a distinct here. Jan mentioned it because you saw he got duplicates, and doing a distinct query just ensures that if a row is exactly the same as a different one, it just gives you one. Select distinct. I'm gonna select everything while I type out my query. I sometimes use something like that for debugging. And I want, let's see, I want to select an item, a Wikidata item, use the generic term like that. And I want to use a property called number of records. Let's see. This is somewhat common on things like datasets, but also on other things. Just to, okay, how many things are there actually in this database? So I'm gonna just select it like that to begin with, like this last part here means that this can be anything, but I don't care about the value. I don't need to select it. The query service doesn't need to store it in memory or deliver it to me or something like that. Okay, then I'm actually gonna be happy with that because I don't think it's such a common one. So I'm gonna try to query for this, and then I'm already gonna replace my star here, even before I run it. Item, and I want a label, like Jan shown. You say item and then say label, but we also need to ensure that we got the label service here. So I click Control Space, and you start writing service. And I'm gonna run it like that because it shouldn't return that many. 2000. Yeah, and exactly another thing here, it's very common for like museum catalogs. And what we're seeing here, Wikidata properties. So we got a lot of inside of Wikidata with links to author things. Like we
Yes.
got a Disney Plus series ID, for example, when we have something about a TV series, and then we say this is Disney Plus identifier about it. And that we also usually got this number of records for. And that's actually the first thing I want to remove here. And I don't think Jan showed this, but we can actually say, I want everything that is like this minus this. So here gonna write minus. And then I want to say everything that is a Wikidata property, leave it out. They're gonna say item. And here, the thing with property and items and entity schemas and a couple of other things in Wikidata are that they have their own RDF type. And because we're writing SparkQL, we can actually just write the A here because it's like a special keyword for RDF type. So it's equal to RDF type. But I write it like an A because it's shorter. And here we need to say that we want to remove things that are Wikibase properties. And just like Jan explained with like the VDT here, that's a shortcut for something. The Wikibase is also a shortcut for like internal things from Wikidata, Wikibase, such as items or entities, properties, blank value. For example, if you have an unknown value, it would be in the Wikibase namespace here. And we can actually autocomplete this as well. So if I type property, we can see that I got like rank things, property type, and property, which I want to select. So I'm gonna run this without the properties. Let's see if we get less. Then we only got 472. So this is like mostly common on properties. And the result is we get a lot of Wikipedias and more Wikipedias.
Yes.
And I want to skip those as well. I'm also just like Jan, I'm interested in like what is the instance of, but I want to sort out like the big quantities here. So I'm actually gonna do like another minus and one that's independent from this one. So I'm typing another one. I'm gonna say item, and then I'm interested to sort out everything that's an instance of a Wikipedia, and that should be Wikipedia lang, isn't it? Or is my autocomplete just broken? Let's have a look in Wikidata. I thought it was like Wikipedia language edition. But if we go here, Wikipedia language edition.
Yes, but you're writing for the property VDT.
Yes, I'm writing for the property. This is why we're two people doing this. So that's instance of, and then
Yes.
VD, Wikipedia.
I was thinking, I wasn't saying anything first because I thought, oh, maybe we do have something like that. That would be very handy.
Oh, indeed.
Maybe we do have a property Wikimedia language.
I think we have like an internal like schema.org mapping to the various Wikipedias.
Yeah.
With
There might
like
be
the
something there.
sightings.
Yeah. That should work though.
That should work. So let's see what we are left with here. we're still having a Wikipedia. We might have found an error here, which we can fix.
Mm-hmm.
But order-wise, we're starting to see databases, I would say.
Yes.
Ancient Faces, Wikitree, Crossref, Commercial Register, probably database,
Mm-hmm.
and so on.
iNaturalist.
iNaturalist.
Nice.
So let's see what's happening with Kurdish Wikipedia here. There's a banner. And that I don't want here. Sorry, I got a user script on. Oh, it says this is interesting. This is deprecated, and this is instead a umbrella term. And I
Does it
think this,
link to something else further down?
yeah, this is very interesting because there are like,
Ah, yes. So it's sort of like saying Norwegian Wikipedia, but it's actually two
exactly,
language versions.
exactly. Here we go. That's one type of Kurdish, and that's another one, and this
Mm-hmm.
is the umbrella term for those two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly like with the Norwegian, which also have two written languages. So that makes complete sense actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we got a couple of things here, but now I want to see how large are they. So I'm actually gonna select this number of records I left unselected. I'm just gonna call that number of records like that. And Jan used like the sort here, which we could do. I'm gonna sort it directly in the query. Order by descending, and then number of records. So I get the larger things first. And I haven't like filtered it down to datasets. Let's see if we're actually getting datasets here. 180. Kia data release 2. I imagine that's a dataset.
That's a
Not
large
sure.
number.
That is indeed a large number. I am pretty sure, and we can double check this. I think this is a dataset of stars. Yes,
Ah,
it's like a
yeah. All right,
star catalog.
that explains it. Yes,
Yeah, so
1.7
it's
billion something. Yeah.
I have seen a visualization like this before of it, or like actually gone around in one using an Xbox controller somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of data. There are a lot of stars in there,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. And indeed, it's a high number. We got like a family search tree, like, and that's also a very high number, I would say. Find a grave. I think that's a part of like the
Mm-hmm.
what's it called in English? Family research. It has a different name. We got a Swedish data set here, Swedish open cultural heritage, with close to 10 million items. Um, but of course, this is actually things that change.
Mm-hmm.
So if we, for example, let's open the
Yeah.
item about iNaturalist.
Yeah. That's ever changing.
Exactly, because this changes every day. So we can actually see when we go down to this item here, or this statement, we can see that it got this point in time property that says, hey, this is the number of records at this point in time. So for example, it could have a ton of values here. We could, for example, head over there now and update this and give it a new. I'm not gonna do that because I actually more interested in like data sets that do not yet have this number at all and see if we can
Mm-hmm.
add them. So I'm gonna just share this query because I'm gonna do a new one. So
That was nice, though. That was a good, interesting query.
yeah, and I got yet one more thing to do, and we can actually visualize this number as well, like using a bubble chart. So if we go down here, we can
Ah,
actually
yes.
see the GIA data release, and we can see, I think this is the Swedish open cultural heritage indeed. There aren't a lot of records compared to the number of stars. I
No.
think this is a quite nice way to browse it. and you can actually like click those and go to those items. So this is a neat feature if you're new to Wikidata. Like you got a ton of different visualization options, and it's rather smart. For example, here it just recognized that, hey, one column is a number here, so I could probably do a bubble chart of this, but it doesn't find any coordinates. So it doesn't give me a map as an option. So it's a neat, powerful thing. But let's see. I want instead to select datasets that do not have a number of records, but is licensed under an open license. And I'm gonna do a bit of cheating here because I saw when Jan did a query that CC0 is a common license for datasets. So I was gonna say instead of doing like any open license, I'm gonna say CC0 just to make my life simpler.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna clear certain parts of my query. So I got a bit of a template almost. I'm gonna select data sets because that's what I want. I want the label of the data sets, and I think that's all I need for the moment. The data set is gonna be an instance of a data set, and I'm gonna keep it like that. It could be like an open data set or an online data set we have seen, but I'm gonna keep it simple for now. Let's see what we get for results. I might need to change it. And here is instance of, and here is actually what I want. So data set, and it got a space there in Wikidata, but it recognizes what I'm trying to say.
Very helpful.
Indeed. And then I want it to have a license, just to ensure that I'm contributing to some open data or a bit of extra open data, so to say. So copyright license, and let's see, I want that to be CC0. There we go. Which is an interesting license as well, as it's a dedication to the public domain rather. And let's run that and see if we get any data sets which we can actually add this number to. So 66. And I of course want to ensure another thing. I want to say minus. And I want to say that, hey, this should not have number of records. So the data set should not have number of records. And again, I do this trick where I just type it like this to ensure that, hey, don't select this value for me. It's not interesting, especially in the minus where it doesn't have a value. So we got a couple of ones. This looks like Dutch.
Yeah.
Very much
Swedish.
this looks like Swedish. Indeed. Art in Umeå, that sounds interesting to me. Shipyards sounds interesting.
SHM is probably the historical museums in Sweden there.
Indeed.
A lot of Swedish things.
Indeed. Architects in Sweden. This is like a Finnish treasury. Database of photography. I'm gonna pick a couple of Swedish ones because I think I should be able to figure out the count there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. So let's see here. It's described as the fabricator ticket. I don't think that's very interesting, but it says that the full work, I can access the full work at this URL. So I want to head over there to see if I can find a count. Downloads 19. I imagine that's how many times it has been downloaded.
Yeah. Top left there.
Top left, you say? 32 records. But is that
that comparing to the numbers of the filters, I think that might be correct. Oh, you have a table
right.
as well.
Yeah, let's see what it says if I say table here. You just go down. Yeah, 32. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna pick like the URL here because I want to say that, hey, I found this number here at this URL. So I want to go down here and say number of records, and it was 32. I don't want a unit here, but I do want a reference. So retrieved, that's today's date. I'm gonna type in, it's already March, right? And
Yep.
it's
The 5th.
So it shows me here that it understood my date formatting. It's a very smart one. And let's see. Reference URL, there we go. I just put the URL I used in here. And another one important one, we need the point in time, which is qualifier.
Yes.
Because this could change if they get more art in Umeå, which I hope they get one day. There we go. So we got point in time today. We got a reference. We found this at this URL on this date. That's neat. I want to.
Did we see when it was last updated in the source?
That's
So this was the time when we were looking at it, but when was it?
Modified November 27, 2020. Let's see if we can incorporate that. Blast processing. Do you have an ID?
Either we use that as the point in time, but that's sort of speculating that the site is actually correct. Like we know that it was that today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we should use it. I was mostly curious, like how old was it?
I imagine we could use this because if I go down here to last processing, it has like the same date. And I imagine this is an automatic process that human didn't write this, so to say.
No.
So I think that makes sense actually to replace the point in time here to have the first noun. Let's see if I just copy pasted the date. Let's see if it's smart enough to understand it. It is. That's very nice fit. There we go. But I saw like a warning sign here and I thought this was interesting, so I'm gonna edit this. It says here in the copyright status, public domain as well as the copyright dedicated to the public domain by the copyright holder, which you essentially do with CC0 or something like that. And of course, it can't be both of those. And as this is like a modern data set, I'm pretty sure it's by default copyright protected, and there's nothing here to indicate anything else. They have said put a license on it, which in case it would be in the public domain, they don't need the license, and so on. So I'm gonna remove the public domain here. It also gives a warning. So if I click this, it says like copyright status should only have one value, or like applies to your jurisdiction. So no, it's not in the public domain by default. There we go. Some nice edits here. And let's see. I opened a couple of more ones. Let's see. Shipyards. Another museum one. And I think this would end up being a URL. So I'm pretty sure this source should have a count. Yes, 266. And I'm already gonna look for a date. Is that content updated? And I'm gonna copy that and hope that Wikidata understands that format as well. We're really testing the date formatting in Wikidata here today. 266, right? Of number of records, 266. New unit, and then point. I'm gonna scroll down here. Point in time, let's see. 9 March 2020.
Not easy to know.
No, I don't think it's. Let's see. Can I hover over it? Um,
Stupid
no, I'm
dates.
pretty. It's Scandinavian, so I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like this. 3rd of September.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
inclined to
indeed.
write a bug report to these people. You can't have dates like these.
Yeah. Don't write dates like this. Yeah.
No.
And we want the URL up here as a reference. Reference URL. There we go. And we want the date here as well. But this is, of course, gonna be today's date. Oh, I never get this one right.
Are you still developing your own gadget so it conflicts with that one?
I have no clue. So when John does this, or when most people does this, it autofills the today's date in here. But I'm not sure if I have turned it off intentionally or if I have broken it somehow.
I think you
By
said before that you turned off it intentionally because you were developing something.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds very much like me, but I'm not sure that that is true anymore because I was working on that for a while.
Uh,
And there we go, 5th of March. March. Publishing. So that's neat. And again, I'm seeing a warning sign here, so I'm gonna have a look at it. An entity with copyright license should have a statement for copyright status with one of the following: copyright protected but dedicated to the public domain, new non-copyright restriction, or copyleft. And here we got public domain. And again, it should be public domain but dedicated to the public domain. Is it that? Okay. Copyright.
there you have it.
And
It actually suggests it.
indeed. There we go. So another fix there. And it seems to be like we was working with the same type of data set. Maybe one could like write a long query for this combination and then sort it out like a semi-automated way at least. But for this example, it worked well, and that warning is now gone. Um, and there are plenty of data sets here, which I imagine one could add number of records to. And I imagine people could do it like semi-automatically as well, or even automatically and import some of it and so on. But this is a neat way of like finding things to edit rather than just finding to explore. And it's a very common way to edit Wikidata. So that's what I wanted to show today. And as the last act of
Share the.
Wikidata editing, I'm gonna share the query.
Yeah. Yeah, and also this is sort of like working on a meta level, so you might help others find or decide which data sets to use by adding these kinds of values and cleaning up the copyright statuses.
Indeed. Right. And with that, I think I have shown what I wanted to show today.
All right. So we went very heavy on the open data, actually, more than I thought when we were planning this. This was very nice.
Yeah.
Looking at the licenses and what are having them and how much of it we have as well.
Indeed. And I imagine there are so many aspects actually of like open data and open licenses you could do. We just did licenses and sizes, but you could do all kind of things like who are creating those, who are publishing it. Is it like government agencies or are there just go on forever? Like we
Yeah.
saw a lot of Swedish data set. How does that
Yeah.
compare? How much
Yeah.
do Norway have and how much does Sweden have in Wikidata?
Yes, and that's probably also revealing how young Wikidata still is, because you can probably see the effects of a single editor going like, oh, I'm just going to add all the Swedish ones, and
Yeah.
then it really shows up in the data. And if someone else were doing it for Norway, Finland, or any other country, we would see them, like the data is probably out there, easy to catch up, but it
Indeed.
just happened to be someone enthusiastic adding it. It wasn't me this time. So
Right. It happens multiple times that Jan and I, we go on to Wikidata, we're editing something, in particular about Sweden. Then we click on the edit history because we find something that's a little funny. And then we see that we made it funny, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah. You're trying to figure out why is it like this, and it's because our earlier me wasn't as smart as I am today.
Right. Let's hope it's not turned the other way around.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's it for today. I'm not sure if we have a theme this week already, but the week after that, it will be in the Wikidata reuse days, and we will take a look at, I think, sort of the framework of how we build the Gov directory. But for next week, if you have anything you would like to see, you're welcome to get in touch with us, and you're always welcome to get in touch with us. But specifically, you can inspire us.
Indeed.
And with that, I guess, happy editing.
Happy editing.